Alright, hello, Oswella Desma here for yet another draft. We're gonna jump right in this queue because it's about to start. So here's another design and draft. I'm actually gonna try to not play specifically green or red because I spoke about most of those cards there already. But we'll see how the pack's open. I'm gonna try to speak about the card I'm specifically picking and nothing less, and then as the draft ends, um, I'm gonna mostly talk about the archetype in general. So here, okay, here are a few cards. We have a bomb in Shivan Dragon. And basically, this is your standard dragon staple. Started in alpha, still good enough for limited format. 6 mana for a 5/5 flyer is good. And then it fire breathes, so it puts the opponent away very quickly. It's kind of just a classic trope. Red mana is just fire breathing. Outside of that, I think Doomblade is next best card. But then outside of that, Quag Sickness is the next best card. Or it could be Young Pyromancer, I'm not sure. But I'm actually just going to take Shivan Dragon. Just because it's a dragon, and it's awesome. Not much to say about design there. It's pretty solid. It's not very exciting, but I mean, it was printed in the time of alpha, so, you know, I don't think there's a lot that could be done. That's kind of the problem with dragons overall. There's just not much that you could do with them. Alright. So here we have a very, very weak pack. Best red card is Active Treason. That's only good in a black-red aggressive deck. I actually think I'm gonna take it. So basically, so here's what Active Treason does: gain control of target creature until end of turn, and tap that creature, gains haste until end of turn. Usually, what it is just an aggressive card. It was always just an aggressive card. You have an aggressive curve, so you play creature, 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 and if they stumble and they play one guy to stabilize, just take their creature for the turn, attack with everything, put them on such low life total that you can basically win next turn. More recently, and especially in this draft format, with a card like Blood Baron, sacrifice another creature, you take their creature and then you sacrifice it for your own advantage, so it turns into like a removal spell. So I'm gonna take it, basically because Active Treason is the only card of its kind, whereas you can get more sacrifice outlets. Alright, so here I'm going to take a Volcanic Geyser, and I know I spoke about it before in the first draft. So let's talk about Slivers. Because this is a rare, and I will want to be talking about rares just because they're more infrequent. So now, flavor and execution aside, which I don't really agree with what they did in the Slivers here, I actually don't like the Slivers in this draft format, and I kind of just, it speaks to the draft format as a whole, where I don't think the themes are pushed enough. Like, there's like a slight enchantment theme, there's a slight life gain theme, but it's too small for it to be strong, and the fact that the sliver cards are kind of weak overall just make it so it's a very hard format to draft unless you have the bomb slivers or something like Door of Destinies. Also, by the way, when I saw Door of Destinies and I saw the slivers, and I think I saw one other card, maybe it was Zacred Nethomancer, which cared about humans, I thought this was going to be a much more tribal heavy set, and I was kind of disappointed to see that it wasn't. Slivers is the only tribal matters card, not the only, Slivers is the only heavy tribal card, and then you have the Zacred Nethomancer, which, there aren't many humans in the set, so it's not like a theme. Here I'm just gonna pick Liturgy of Blood. It's best card in the pack, and I actually just I love the design. So it's 5 mana for destroy target creature, which in limited, solid. Brain Spoil from Ravnica basically said the same thing and had Transmute. Add 3 mana to your mana pool. Is kind of an extra, but it's a very feel-good extra, because if you can use that mana, you basically turn your removal spell, your destroy target creature, into a 2 mana destroy target creature, or maybe 3 mana if you didn't use all 3 black mana. But it's just a very feel good ability, and I think it doesn't make it so it's an overpowered ability, but it's strong enough. Here I'm just gonna take regular Fire Cat. Um, you know, high power, low toughness. It's fragile, but it works well with active treason in that scenario I described, where it's just guy, take your guy, and just be very aggressive. So, I mean, I didn't want to go black because I passed Doomblade and Quag Sickness and Corrupt in that one pack. But I'm going to stay the course. I think next best card is Rootwalla, and I don't want to go... seriously, I don't want to go red-green. But, you know, regular Firecat's not a bad card, so I don't want to just jump into... another color. Alright, so here we're seeing a couple of green cards. We're seeing a Shortcutter and a Marauding Maulhorn. You know, so here I'm going to talk about the draft format as a whole because I've talked about both these cards. Goblin Shortcutter was amazing in Zendikar. It was basically a 2-1 removal spell because the format was so aggressive. Just having that one turn that your creature couldn't block was almost as good as removal. Here it could sometimes be that way, but a 2-power creature gets outclassed so easily. I mean, look at these cards: 2/3, 1/3, 0/4, 3/5, even a 5/3. You know, a 2-power creature just gets too easily outclassed. All right, so here, best card is actually a black card, even though I'm not too happy about it. Festering Noot's okay. I like that it could trade with a 2-power creature, and I love the flavor on this. Creature gets -4/-4 instead if you control a Bogwitch Brew, and then with Bubbling Cauldron you sacrifice that, and it becomes an 8-point life swing, gain 4, deal 4. I think it's great, and on the power level, I think it's okay. I haven't actually played with it much, but I think it's okay. This does set us up, however, for the sacrifice deck. Hopefully, we'll see if it gets there. Red and black is the sacrifice deck. Here, I'm not taking a Smelt. I'm going to take a Fire Shrieker. I don't know how good this card is. It's interesting. I thought it was 3/3 at first, 3 to play, 3 equip. But the fact that it's 2 to equip makes it actually better because it makes it like a turn 5 play. And it's good on the creatures I have so far, actually. It's good with regular Fire Cat because it's a 4-power first striker if they block, or take 8. It's great with Marauding Maulhorn, and it's great with Shivan Dragon. I mean, Shivan Dragon can just put the game away. Alright, so here's a nice little sign that red is kind of open. Scroll Thief is still here, but blue is the deepest color, so you usually have a good blue card. I'm going to talk about Sliver Construct, and I think it's actually a reasonable card to play, not only because of this whole Sliver thing, especially in red, like there's no reason to play it if I'm just red, but because of Accursed Spirit, which is a 3/2 Intimidate. This can block the Accursed Spirit, and Accursed Spirit's one of black's better commons. So I think that's something to be aware of. Alright, here I'm just going to take the Smelt. I already spoke about Artificer's Hex. I think it's a cool card, even though I did read it a bit wrong. Quarter Shield, I think it's cool. It's way better than the other shield they had that was just +0/+3. It makes the equipment feel like it's more relevant, giving your creature vigilance, because then it just pulls double duty. But outside of that, it's not a very exciting card, which is why I didn't take it. Though maybe I could have. Yeah, maybe I could have. Maybe I was a little quick to dismiss it. Okay, here we go. Shrivel's an okay card. Not good with regular Fire Cat. It's actually not good in a red-black. Deck, because you have a lot of X1s, like your Newts, Child of Nights, Fire Cats. As much as I love foil land, let's talk about Door of Destinies. So choose a creature type. When you cast a spell of the chosen type with a charge counter, creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. This card gets big very quickly. I don't know if it's like I don't know how defensible it is to first pick it and then just go straight slivers. But I mean, you play this on slivers, and you play 2 or 3 slivers. All slivers you have will have +3/+3, and they just get bigger. So the fact that the scales for each creature just makes your creatures giant, and it really overwhelms. That being said, there's nothing else that I can really uh, that I can name. Here's Elemental Cat, Beast, Dragon, Human Warrior. Human's probably the best, but in a red-black deck, you're not gonna have a lot of humans. Salamander. I'm not playing this guy. Alright, so we have a choice between Liturgy of Blood and Lifebane Zombie. And, you know, the pick is probably Liturgy of Blood, but I'm actually going to take Lifebane Zombie. One, it's a foil, and it's a rare. But, I mean, kidding aside, I think it's a great card, and I love the design of it. So, it has Intimidate, so it's 3/1 Intimidate. So, right away, you have a 3-power evasive creature. Like I said, so only black creatures block it, and a Sliver Construct, basically. Enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand, you choose a green or white creature card from it, and exile that card. So it basically takes your opponent's best creature, or best green or white creature, which is a very strong ability. So that means against any deck, it's okay, but against a green-white deck, it's amazing. And I think that upside, although unfortunately white is underplayed, the fact that green is actually played very much. When it hits, man, it feels so good. And it is so good. It's not just a feeling, but it is. Here I'm going to take Chandra's Outrage. I spoke about this card. This card is just awesome. Kills a creature and does a little extra to your opponent. I think it's a very feel-good card. And that's kind of been the theme of this draft. Just things that are a little extra but feel good. You know, add 3 mana. This you play in Constructed more for the green or white. Oh, it's actually funny. So in Constructed, you play this for the discard effect, and Intimidate is the feel-good extra. But in Limited, it's kind of the other way around, because you normally expect it to be a 3/1 Intimidate, but when you do get their creature, it's so much gravy. Alright, so here's Chandra's Outrage. Pretty easy card. I'd like to pick up either the Warlord, the Blood Baron, or maybe the Bubbling Cauldron. Bubbling Cauldron last, because I do have the Active Treason. Alright, here we have Shock between Mark of the Vampire. Shock is starting to lose a little bit of value for me. I'm reading like a lot of articles and a lot of strategy. It seems like Shock is not respected that much just because a 2/2 is not valued as highly as it used to be. That being said, I still think I want it over Mark of the Vampire, and Mark of the Vampire I love. Gets +2/+2 and has lifelink. So auras are usually bad, because let's say I play this on a creature and they kill my creature, they got this for free. So they got a literal 2-for-1. But because this has such a big impact, Limited is all about creatures. Limited is all about attacking. Limited is all about combat. This provides such a big swing in another favor. If you, let's say they leave a 3/3 back to block my 5/3. I play Mark on my 5/3. Now it's a 7/5. It attacks. They either block and it dies, their creature dies, or they take it. They just took 7 and I just gained 7. That's huge. So I really like the fact that because it has such high impact, it's played. Here this pack is terrible. Oh, what am I doing? I think I'm just gonna take Thunderstrike. Thunderstrike is good with my Firecat, all my high power, low toughness creatures. Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about Silence. Again, rare. Your opponent can't cast spells this turn. So it's a very white ability. White and blue are kind of like, white mostly is kind of like the rule setting color, so it'll just tell you something. And the fact that your opponents can't cast spells this turn, I think it's a very cool card. While maybe it might not be powerful only for like combo decks and such, but I think it's a really cool card that exists. So you just play it on their upkeep. They can't play anything. It almost feels like you're taking an extra turn, but it doesn't feel as dirty. Alright, here we see that white is open. White bomb. Don't know. I think you can say maybe it's time to move into white. But one, white is weak. Two, we saw pacifism and a Sarah Angel, which actually might be a reason to do it. I don't know. I think having Liturgy of Blood and a Lifebane Zombie is good enough that I'll stick with my black for now. I'm going to take this Marauding Maulhorn again. Maulhorn is great, even in a non-green deck, because the downside's not really a downside. You have 5/3. You want to attack with it. Secondly, especially in a red-black deck, because you have something like this, or something like this, or something like this, or something like this, the majority of the creatures have 2 power, which is why a 2/2 is so bad, because it just trades with everything, or it doesn't, because you have a 2/3. But a lot of the creatures just have 2 power. So look, 2/4, 2/3, 2/2. And you have this 1/1 that can get pumped. But I mean, if you want it to be more than 3 power, or 3 power or more, you have to sink 4 mana into it. You know, that means these guys are going to get double blocked a large majority of the time, and it makes removal spells such a big blowout. Alright, here, I don't know what I want, actually. Either Duress or Minotaur Abomination. I just have to point out that this card, as you probably well know, is this card times 2. And I think that's so cool. I think the fact that the art, the stats, the mana cost, all comes together that way, it just makes for such a cool connection. That being said, I think this is a card, or we can get a card that's similar to this more so than we can Duress. And Duress I like because while narrow is very powerful. Let's say you're playing against a blue opponent and they're holding Opportunity in hand, or something, a spell maybe not equally as powerful but with a big impact. You just take it for 1 mana and kind of just destroy their whole plan, and you know what they're doing because you get to look at their hand. So I think it's a deceptively very powerful card. Here I'm just going to take a Lava Axe. It's the only card available to me. There's no reason to talk about anything else right now. Alright, here we go. Here's a Mind Rot. Here's a Dragon Egg. So here's another card. This is card number 3 that works well in the Sacrifice deck. While we haven't had many Sacrifice outlets, which is a problem with the Sacrifice deck. You might have all these cards that work well with Sacrifice outlets, but then you just don't get them. But I think this card is powerful enough, though I definitely overvalued it in my first draft. I think it's better than Mind Rot, because Mind Rot can just, you know, do nothing sometimes. Alright, here, I still think this card is terrible. Might not be as terrible as I thought, but I just don't like the can't block clause, because it just makes it so much worse. Dark Favor is a card. It's not a card I like. I'm just going to take Wild Ricochet. So basically what Wild Ricochet says is, okay, well you can read it. But it's such a big blowout if it works, or if and when it works, that I think it's strictly a sideboard card, but it's perfect against like a black deck, or a red deck, or even a green deck with Giant Growths, Ranger's Guiles, blue decks maybe with like Disperse or something. White decks I think is the worst, because all I had is like Active Valor and maybe Pay No Heed, but Pay No Heed is barely played. So I think it's a really strong card if it works. But that's the problem. It's if and when it works, which is rare. So you got a rare draft here. No shame. Alright, Pay No Heed's an okay card. I think it's kind of cool. Prevents all damage of sorts of your choice would deal this turn. I like it because it's flexible. It's 1 mana. It could be a combat trick. It could stop a volcanic geyser for 1 mana. It could stop a what? Chandra's Outrage. It doesn't actually have to be a creature, and I think it's important to note that. You know, there could be a time where I play this. I doubt it, but you never know. So I got my Lava Axe anyway. So about Lava Axe, deal 5 damage to target player. Not a very good card in general. You're wasting a card just to deal 5 damage, which is good in like an aggressive deck, but not so good anywhere else. It just doesn't do enough for 5 mana and the cost. It just, I don't think it's worth it. I wouldn't want to draw it at any point. It's only good when your opponents have 5 or less life, basically. Here I'm gonna take, I think the Firecat's the only card here. Man, I wish I had like some kind of other enchantment, so I could take a Blightcaster. Blightcaster is awesome, but here's what I'm talking about. So whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may have target creature get -2/-2 until end of turn. That's a really cool card, but there aren't that many enchantments in the set. Like, if this was a first pickable card, I would love that draft format, just because it's such a build around me card. The fact that the enchantments in this set aren't that strong, or there aren't enough incentives for you to play it, I think that's a little disappointing. Of course, you get past Shiv's Embrace, but I'm actually, this is actually not easy. Do I take Gnawing Zombie or Blood Baron? I'm playing either, and I'm probably playing the Active Treason because I haven't had that many playables, unfortunately. Maybe. Yeah, actually, I know. It's actually easier than I think. I'm taking Gnawing Zombie because it's a 2-drop, and I have no 2-drops. So I really like this card actually anyway, just because it gives you incremental value over creatures. One, if you have like 3 or 4 creatures and your opponent's at like 5, you could actually just attack all out. Maybe they could only block 2. You sacrifice the 2 that blocked. The other guys get in, and you just kill your opponent. So it actually gives you a range, gives you reach. Sorry. So like your opponent could be on 3, and you have 3 creatures. Well, now you're dead. But also, it's just a nice value. You know, let's say they Chandra's Outrage your creature. You could kind of fizzle that by sacrificing your creature, gain your life. It just gives you a little bit of value for what your opponent's trying to do, which is usually just, you know, killing your creatures. And I really like that. Also, 2 mana 1/3, again, 2 power. That's kind of like the key power in this format. Here, I actually like Flesh Pulper Giant. A lot of people hate it, but I actually like it. I don't think I like it in this deck that much, because this deck kind of wants to attack more often than not. But in like a very heavy removal, slower deck, I think it's a good way to recoup some card advantage and just have a big guy in play. Here I'm going to take Tenacious Dead, which I think is great in this kind of deck because it can just do so much. You can sacrifice its Gnawing Zombie, you could block indefinitely, all for 2 mana, which is not that much. And I think you know, I think that's powerful because this format is slow, so you can afford to leave 2 mana up, or sometimes even 4 mana up. Also, it's a great combo with this card. If you have these 2 in play, basically you have an extra ability that says that's 2 black and 2, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life for no added cost. Here I'm actually just going to take the Active Treason. This is kind of banking on getting another sack outlet, but I think if I do and I have this Active Treason, it makes my deck way better. Outside of that, the only other card I'd play is Nightwing Shade, which I really dislike. For 5 mana, you get a 2/2 flyer, which makes it a bad blocker, and then when you attack, you have to pump more mana into it to make it relevant. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think that's good. Okay, so for all the good things I said about Tenacious Dead, I don't think you ever really want two of them. Like unless your deck was like specifically designed to take advantage of all the sacrifice outlets and all these, yeah, all the sac outlets. Tenacious Dead is not a high impact card. It's all about kind of like grinding out the game and gaining incremental value over the course of a game. So like with this guy, or with that vampire warlord that sacrifices a creature to regenerate it, he basically turns into a 2-mana regenerate, which is really strong. So because of that, I'm actually going to take Pitchburn Devils. I really love this card. It's a red form of card advantage because it could trade for an X3 and then kill something else that's 3 toughness or less, which is really cool. And it works great in a sacrifice deck, which doesn't seem like I am, but never know. Okay, so here I have two options. I could take Diabolic Tutor, or I could take Canyon Minotaur. Diabolic Tutor is a pretty standard card. Search your card, search your library for a card, put it into your hand. I like that you don't have to show it, and usually with search cards you do, kind of like as an anti-cheating clause, because if it says search your library for a land and it doesn't say reveal it, your opponent can just search any card, doesn't reveal it, and you kind of just have to trust them. But it creates a different feeling when you don't know what your opponent's getting. And you're like, man, what could he get? So I took the Canyon Minotaur just because I want another creature, and two, if you look at my black, I don't have a lot of black cards, and a double black kind of messes my deck up because I have so much double red. I have 2 double black cards, but I think these are strong enough that I can play that. So now here, this is like an easy Altar's Reap. It's sacrifice outlet. It's a one-shot, unfortunately, but again, this format's slow enough that you can take advantage of something like that, and even just like 4 mana draw 2 with the Tenacious Dead is not that bad. It becomes 5 mana, kill a creature, draw 2, discard 1 with an Active Treason. I think it's like a solid hole filler. And I really needed another sacrifice outlet, so yeah. So I'm gonna take this Minotaur Abomination just because I think I would need a big creature at this point. So here's an aura. Here's an enchantment. But it's a weak enchantment. It's 3 mana, all 4, gets +3/+0, and has first strike. It's not that strong, it's not that good. It could be good on a Marauding Maulhorn, but it still makes it as susceptible to most removal, and it doesn't change that. It makes it better with creature combat, but it's not a good card. And I think if Lightning Talons was just strong enough to be a better card, something like Blightcaster would be played more. Here, I'm taking the Mythic. I don't see myself ever playing 2 Duresses, and I'm a pretty shameless rare drafter. So, Darksteel Forge, 9 mana, artifacts you control have indestructible. This is a card for like a commander player, or like for decks that just want to go big and like want to have long-lasting games. And I think that's what they're playing, and it's a big ability. I don't think it should have been Mythic though. I like my Mythic cards to have a bigger impact, and this is kind of just a passive impact card. Like when you play it, nothing immediately happens. It's just like, oh, maybe, okay, I'll attack my guy into yours and it'll never die. It's like a sustained impact. It's cool, but I don't like it as a Mythic. I don't think it feels Mythic, and I think Mythics need to feel Mythic, and I think that's important. More important than any other rarity. An uncommon doesn't necessarily have to feel uncommon like a Mythic does. So I think this is disappointing as a Mythic card. So I'm taking Flesh Pulper Giant. I might play it, I might not. We'll see. I'm gonna take Wild Guess. So I took Child of Night before. Again, it's a 2/1 for 2 mana, which is okay. Again, I think I'm a little I'm kind of more wary than I used to be against playing these kind of cards. But I do like the fact that it has lifelink. So it kind of forces a trade with almost anything because you never want to just let it go because it's gaining incremental value for you. You're just getting more life and you're sustaining things. So I think it's okay. That being said, it's also good with Thunderstrike. And I don't think it's terrible. I mean, boy, my 3-drop is filled. But having a few 2-drops is okay. So here's the deck. It's not as heavy on the sacrifice outlet as I wish it was. But I mean, the cards really weren't there. Like, I saw Blood Baron at the same time I saw Knowing Zombie. I saw Blood Baron when there was, I think, like a Chandra's Outrage. Like, I think I saw a barrage of Expendables, but there were other cards that are stronger that I played against them. What am I doing? So again, like, I saw almost no black cards. I think that was kind of a given. When you think about the 2 cards I passed, or the 3 cards I passed, and the first pack, it just put a lot of people into black. But I also didn't see that many other colors being open. Green dried up very quickly. White was there, but you know, I saw Sarah Angel, Pacifism, and not much else. Blue wasn't. Blue seemed like it was heavily drafted. So I think I made the best with what I could, and I think my deck's okay. So I'm just gonna lay it out here. See how it goes. Playing these 2 guys for sure. Definitely playing all of this. I like Academy Raider here in this deck, and it serves a different purpose than in the other red-green deck I had, because I think the red-green deck, I had 3 Academy Raiders, which was too much, by the way. I had 3 Academy Raiders and, like, I think 1 or 2 Spore Mounds, which made things awkward, because Spore Mounds, you want lands in your hand. You want lands to play, but Academy Raiders, you want them in your hand to discard. So here, like, this is a much better deck for Academy Raiders, especially because this is a highly synergistic deck where you want cards like Tenacious Dead, Gnawing Zombie, you want Active Treasons with your Gnawing Zombie and your Alter's Reap. So if you're churning through your deck, there is a better chance for you to get it, to see these cards at the same time in one game. That being said, if I had a Blood Baron or a Vampire Warlord, I'd be much happier. But looks like, I think black was very overdrafted here. So I am going to play this Child of Night just because I don't want to be curved out. You know, red and green is the most aggressive color combination, and they could easily go like 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, you know, hit you for a bunch. And I think Child of Night can really help with that. I'm playing these 2 Fire Cats because they work well with Active Treason. Because even though the main reason I'm playing Active Treason is to sacrifice it, that doesn't mean I can't attack with the creature. And removing a blocker and allowing this guy to get in and pretty much almost always trade with something is pretty good. You know, you have like an 0-4. You know, there are many creatures with 4 toughness, or there are many creatures with higher than 4 toughness. Even the 7-mana creatures with 4 toughness. So definitely playing Lifebane Zombie, I think it's strong enough to include, even though it's a double black. This guy, I think, is okay. If I'm playing Fire Shrieker, I might be I'll feel a little better about playing this guy. That being said, it might just be better to play Canyon Minotaur over it, because I have a ton of 3s anyway. So yeah, I think that's actually better. Ooh, Blur Sliver, how'd you get in here? No. So last couple of cards, I do want to Thunder Strike. See, like, Shrivel's so awkward here. X1, 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 X1. Rare, but still X1. Alright. And actually, I'm going to play these bigger guys. This might be a big mistake. But, you know, I think the format's slow enough. At 15 creatures, Fire Shrieker is really good with Fire Cat. It's good with a hatched Dragon Egg. It's even good with Fire Shrieker. Gets in for 2, I draw and discard 2. The only problem is Fire Academy Raider, now I can't stop at like 6 mana, I'd want to stop at 7 mana, but I could easily just discard this, and it'd be fine. I think with cards like... I think this deck can last long enough where this will make a difference and won't just rot in my hand. Though I could be wrong. I also, I don't want to play Undead Minotaur. I can easily see switching this out for this, depending on the deck. Oh, whoa, okay, here we go. Alright, so... almost missed that. Honestly, it's between these two cards. And I don't think it's about pick the cheaper card. Because a 4/6 on the ground just doesn't do a lot. But a 4/4 that kills a creature when it comes into play, it does way more. And a lot of people say that toughness are 2 or less. I mean, I guess I was just talking about the fact that having 2 toughness sucks. But, I think it kills enough creatures. It kills, something like this. It kills a lot of flyers. I think it's even though it costs 1 more mana, it's high enough impact, or it has a higher impact than this 4/6 and enough of one for me to play it. And I could be wrong. It's part of just my playstyle. I love 2-for-1s, and the fact that this thing just gives you 2-for-1, so enticing. But yeah, I don't see anything else. My deck is nowhere near as aggressive to like just play a random Lobax. Sure, I have 4/1s, but majority of the time this is just going to be the first creature I cast on turn 3, and that'll trade with almost anything. So it's not really, I have 0 1-drops outside of Tenacious Dead, which I rarely want to attack into anyway. My 2-drops is a 1/3 and a 2/1. It's not an aggressive curve. It kind of just like flips into an aggressive turn. Like that's the most it can do. Okay, actually, I didn't see this Festering Newt. Alright, boom. Get out of here. You might think like Festering Newt or Flesh Pulper Giant, terribly different cards, but I mean honestly, I'd rather not have this 7 mana card and this 7 mana card in my deck. And I think it's strong enough with like an Altar's Reap or even a Gnawing Zombie, or even just on its own to deter ground attackers. I think it's good enough. So here's the deck. Like it. I think it's okay. I think Marauding Maulhorns really need to pull their weight for the deck to be good. Outside of that, hopefully I can just, beat face. Kind of kill some creatures, and that's it. 9/8. Maybe I should go 10/7. That does make Lightbane Zombie and Liturgy of Blood really awkward, but I don't want to play. I don't want to have 3 swamps and 1 mountain and like just look at these guys, or even this. It'd be terrible. So yeah. All right, I'll see you for round 1.